After 7 straight days at sea and being turned away by 4 different ports, is today the day that Viking Orion passengers finally step back on dry land? This is your Cruise News Fix. Welcome back to the cruise world, and this is your Cruise News Fix for January 2nd, 2023. And even though I spent all of my New Year's Eve working, there are so many awesome ways to ring in the new year, from attending a fancy gala or cocktail party to hosting a fun game night with friends and family. And some people like to go out on the town and enjoy the fireworks, while others prefer to stay home and watch the ball drop on TV. Now, before that big old ball counts us into the new year, it has to be lit up. And if you're one of the millions that watched the ball drop in Times Square in New York City, you may have recognized some familiar faces on hand.
4, 3, 2, 1.
This year, Carnival Cruise Line President Christine Duffy and Carnival's newly appointed Chief Culinary Officer Emeril Lagasse were selected to flip that switch that lit up the Big Apple's famous New Year's Eve ball. And at the same time that the switch was flipped, nearly 100,000 guests on board Carnival ships fleet-wide also kicked off celebrations to ring in the new year. Now, as much fun as I think it would be to throw on an adult diaper and stand in Times Square packed in like a sardine for hours waiting for that ball to drop, I personally would rather spend my New Year's Eve on a cruise ship, which I hope to do soon. And if I could sail anywhere to ring in the new year, I think my first choice might be Funchal, Madeira. Now, that's a Portuguese island off the west coast of Morocco, and here the passengers on board the ships in port have a prime view for the city's spectacular fireworks display. The New Year's Eve celebration has become a cruise tradition for many European lines. On hand to ring in 2023 in Funchal were ships from Marella Cruises, Nico Cruises, AIDA, Fred Olsen, TUI, and Cunard. What's your favorite way to ring in the new year? Let us know down in the comments, and if you've spent New Year's Eve on board a cruise ship, we'd love to know what you thought. And while we're on the topic of the new year, I am so looking forward to having a better year than 2022 when it comes to the stock market. If you're like me and loaded up on cruise stocks back during the pandemic when we thought they were at their lowest, then you're feeling my pain. So as we look towards a green 2023, let's quickly review what happened to our cruise stocks in 2022. Royal Caribbean Group closed out 2021 at $76.90, and through the year they got up as high as $90.55 and went as low as $31.09. They finished out the year at $49.43, and that's down 35.72%. But that's not as bad as Carnival Corporation, who closed out 2021 at $20.12. Now, through the year, they got up as high as $23.86 and went as low as $6.11. Oof, I should have bought then. They end up closing the year out at $8.06, and that's down an abysmal 59.94% for 2022. And NCL Holdings wasn't much better. After starting 2022 at $20.74, they saw a high of $23.90 and a low of $10.31 before settling at $12.24 for a yearly loss of 40.98%. That was rough, but here's to a better 2023. Now, I love sea days as much as the next guy, and I would even be down for booking a cruise to nowhere on certain ships, but that's not what the 800 passengers, most of whom are Americans, currently on board the Viking Orion signed up for. But that's pretty much what they're getting. Now, Orion is a 930 passenger cruise ship that sets sail on December 22nd on a 14-day Auckland to Sydney New Year's cruise. And after really long flights and thousands of dollars in expenses, I mean, these cruise fares range from $7,500 to $24,000 per person. The cruise vacation that they'd been planning for years has turned into what Dr. Megan Remmel described as the Viking Cruises trip from hell. Remmel's an associate professor at Bradley University in Illinois, and over on Twitter, she went on to say, "It's been the most surreal and enraging experience. I guessed this morning before they announced it that we'd be missing yet another port. Now I just want to get off this ship and go home. They've ruined New Zealand and Australia for me. I'm a huge animal lover and will see zero." Since leaving Wellington, New Zealand on December 26th, the Viking Orion has been turned away from 4 ports due to a growth of biofouling on the ship's hull. So what the heck is biofouling? It's the accumulation of microorganisms, plants, algae, or small animals where it's not wanted, like on surfaces such as ship and submarine hulls. Australian authorities ordered the Viking Orion to have its hull cleaned before it could enter Australian waters, so professional divers were deployed to clean the hull while the ship was anchored outside of Australian waters. Now, I'm happy to report that the Orion did get her hull cleaned up and was en route to Melbourne with an expected arrival time today, January 2nd at 5:30 p.m. local time, which is 1:30 a.m. Eastern. However, VesselFinder.com reports that Orion didn't arrive in port until 7:44 p.m. local time and departed just 4 hours later. Now, I assume this was just a refueling stop, as Dr. Remmel had already updated on her Twitter yesterday, stating that they weren't going to be allowed to disembark in Melbourne. So it appears that these passengers are going to be stuck on this ship for almost 9 full days. We've reached out for updates, but we haven't heard back yet, and Orion is now on her way to the final destination of Sydney, Australia, and we're going to update you below and over on the Facebook page once we get new information. Viking said in a statement that they will be working directly with customers on compensation. I can't wait to find out what that's going to be. Have you ever had your cruise itinerary adjusted due to anything like weather or ship issues? If you have, let us know down in the comments. That's your cruise news fix for today. We'd love it if you'd smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on so you'll get notified when we post new cruise videos. And right now you should check out this vlog from Mr. Sancho's in Cozumel, where I may or may not have had a few cocktails. Until next time, remember, life is short and cruising is fun.